Continuing the Stallone Marathon, today we're going to talk about The Lords of Flatbush. And I would say right off the bat for me, this is an okay film. I think it's more interesting for the cast because you got Stallone in the film, you got Henry Winkler, and basically the gist of the story here. So it's set in 1958, and you have these four lower middle class teenagers from Brooklyn, known as the Lords of Flatbush. And they chase girls, they steal cars, what a lot of kids in the 50s did. I mean, play pool, get into fights, and that's kind of the story here. So you got two directors here with this movie. You got Martin Davison and Stephen Verona. Now, I don't know what else. I did look at their IMDb's, but I haven't seen any of their stuff or films. The one film that kind of jumped out at me with Martin Davison is a film that he directed called Hero at Large with John Ritter. Never seen the film, but it kind of seems like maybe I've seen that poster somewhere or what have you. Now, get into the cast here. So you got Sylvester Stallone in the film, you got Henry Winkler, you got Perry King, Paul Mace, Susan Blakely. The performances, I think they're okay. You can definitely tell with Stallone here, he's a little rough around the edges. He's not quite there yet as an actor, but you can kind of see a little bit of that spark there. Kind of just a little bit. Like, okay, I see something in this guy, but again, he's not quite there yet. Henry Winkler, it's cool to see him in there, and they do share scenes together. The rest of the cast, I mean, Perry King, I know he went on to do some movies, but he's in here for a little bit. Susan Blakely. So I think just the performances are okay here, and bear in mind around this time in the early '70s, there was this kind of resurgence of the '50s greaser culture. I mean, you think about around this time, you had this film, then the same year you would have Happy Days, and then later on with Grease. So, yeah, with TV shows and movies around this time, there was this kind of resurgence of that 50s culture. Now, to get to some of the positives here, for me, again, I think some of the performances are okay. The more interesting parts is when you see Stallone and Winkler. It's a short film. It's about an hour and 20. It's not a long film at all. I like some of the songs in the film. The soundtrack, I don't mind. I think it does a good job of recapturing that 50s time period. Because it came out in '74, it's a low budget production. So it's not exactly polished. And I think it worked because of that. It was able to kind of recapture that culture, where everybody, all the characters are wearing leather jackets and, smoking and playing pool, stealing cars. Because if you think about it, nowadays, let's say if this film came out now, they can make it look like the 50s, but it wouldn't feel as genuine because everything now is so digital and polished up. But, back in '74, again, it's a low budget. They can only do, so much with the material, but I think it worked as far as, again, capturing that, 50s look and aesthetic. As far as other stuff in the film, for me, it wasn't interesting or it didn't really appeal to me. And, I find myself tuning out quite a bit, like the romance stuff. For me, the romance in the film wasn't interesting to me. I felt that at times it dragged a little bit, even though, again, it's not a long film. It's about an hour and 20. But at times it just kind of wandered. And, I mean, whenever you would see the guys in the film, like, kind of play around and do pranks and, steal a car or, just hanging about, okay, it's interesting to see. But other than that, I mean, there's quite a bit here that for me just wasn't appealing. I mean, I got to be honest. I mean, I give the film some of the things that I talked about, positives with the soundtrack and, Stallone in the film and Winkler and that 50s look, they were able to recapture that culture. And it's, being that it's only an hour and 20-minute film, but some of the other stuff here, again, just didn't appeal to me, or, wasn't interesting. But I would just say The Lords of Flatbush, for me, was an okay watch. I don't hate the film. This is not a rant, but, for me, even though I mentioned some of the positives here, it's interesting to see Stallone here before Rocky, and, Henry Winkler in the film. They do share scenes. Again, it's not a long film. It's a short film. I like some of the songs in the film, the soundtrack. And I think it does a good job of recapturing that time period. But, other than that, a lot of the stuff here just doesn't really appeal to me, or is not as interesting. And I think it does bring down the film for me. And if I wanted to watch something that's similar, I'd rather watch Happy Days or Grease. I would say, stick to those. I mean, if you're very curious to see Stallone here, in a role before Rocky, that's on you if you want to check out the film. But for me, it just wasn't a great movie. But that's just me. So out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it 2.5. So 2.5 out of 5 stars. But yeah, so that's my review of The Lords of Flatbush. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Thank you to Direct to Screenwriter for being a patron and supporting the channel. And for anyone that would like to support the channel, I'll leave a couple of links down below in the description box to my PayPal and Patreon. PayPal for those that would like to request videos, and Patreon is for crediting if you want to be credited in videos. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.